shrink that waist and don't eat. And I mean, to the point where people aren't even drinking water because they'll see the scale go up and then their organs are failing.
And I've seen that on a personal level. Yeah, I know people that have gone through anorexia and bulimia, and it's not pretty. It's not, you know, it's very hard to deal with. It's really hard to deal with on a personal level, and see someone tearing themselves apart like that. You know, the only way that I can sort of kind of link onto that is the fact that, you know, I've had my vices, and that, you know, my
Right.
way of life affected people in such a way, and that, you know, they saw me in such a way, and they saw me do such and such, and that must have been really hard for them. And seeing someone pull themselves apart, seeing someone think that what they are is not normal, and then that unhealthy body image turning into dysmorphia, and then that dysmorphia turning into anorexia and bulimia and you know, God knows other things. It's a hard thing to digest, and all because of the way that people want to fit in or look. You know, like you, I felt I couldn't fit in for a long time. I couldn't, you know, give a rat's backside anymore whether I fit in or not. But there was a time when I really, really wanted to fit in, and I really, really tried. And I really felt so alien. And so I can kind of understand how some of these people, especially in the unrealistic expectation that is Hollywood, and feeling that way, because it's not just their unrealistic you know, how much harder must it be when you've got somebody saying, well, actually, you are a bit bigger than the average, you know. You've got shifty eyes. I think, you know, your eyes could be lifted a bit, or, you know, your nose is a bit crooked, or, you know, you could do with a bit filler in your chin. You know, you'd look a lot better. You would, you know, and you probably get more, you know, more castings, and that's not the way to live, and that's not the way to go. And I understand the fight and the want to get somewhere and to do something and to achieve. But where do we stop, and where do they stop? It doesn't seem to, and it seems to get worse. Hollywood, London, you know, Soho. And you're there. You're right at ground zero, and you see, like you say, you see it every day. I don't see it every day, you know.
Yeah. It's really, we just have to look within, you know, like you said, it's fine to do whatever you want to do to look your best, but it's really, you know, where are you finding your satisfaction? You know, are you seeking the praise of men? Is somebody else's opinion of you going to be what you live your life by? Well, this director said, if I don't lose 20 pounds, I'm not going to get the role. I told a director recently, I was like, well, then hire someone who's 20 pounds lighter if that's what you want. I don't see anything in the script that says she's like a prison camp survivor, or she's supposed to be. The role doesn't require a certain size, but if you want that aesthetically because you think that's going to draw a bigger audience, hire someone else, because I'm not going to go through that trauma and that stress of like, oh, I got to do this for someone else. And yeah, there are times if you get a role in a big movie, it's required that you lose or gain or something, but that's the choice. The actor has the choice. Do I want to put my body through that? We've seen great actors who pack on 60 pounds for a role or lose 60 pounds for a role. And, that's a creative choice or whatever, but constantly having to jump through hoops to please someone else, you have to be happy with who you are and come to terms with this ever-changing face and body you have, and be okay with who you are. And once you're okay with who you are and you love yourself no matter what, then okay, if you want to do a little this, a little that, like I get highlights in my hair, I get little blonde highlights. There's different stuff I do to look better. But when I wasn't loving me, it didn't matter how much stuff I did, it wasn't going to cause me to love myself. So I think it's really about looking in, coming to peace with what you've done, who you are, your past, and like laying it all before God and saying, take this garbage, help me forgive myself. Because a lot of stuff we're running after and chasing is because we think then we'll be okay. If I do this, I'm finally going to be okay. If I do this, I'll finally be worthy. But that's not where your worth comes from.
No, it's not. It's not. Do you ever, because you are so open and honest about all this, do you ever get labeled as difficult?
Not to my face. I haven't heard anyone say that. Maybe they just don't hire me.
Well, because when I've been honest, I've been labeled as difficult. When I've told the truth, I've been labeled as difficult. Or when I've refused to do something that is against the grain that they want me to do, that I think is morally against what I believe. And if I refuse to do that, I get labeled as difficult. So I can only imagine what it's like to be a woman in Hollywood who will quite happily and bravely stand up there and talking about going against these, what is now the social norm, and speak the truth. And I can only imagine that you might, some people might think you're a bit, too honest, or, label. I know people that have been labeled difficult that are far from that. They're honest.
Yeah, I mean, I have been in the situations in Hollywood with people of clout, people who could make a difference in my career. People, it's possible that I could have had a bigger career and could be more well known if I had done some of these requests by people at the top who could, open doors for me. But I, in good conscience, couldn't do their requests, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. And they would give me examples. Well, so-and-so did that, and that's how they got to the top. And so-and-so did this. No big deal. This is what we do. This is like, casting couch situations. And I most certainly could have been in a better place with my career, but then would I be able to live with myself? Would I be able to look in the mirror? Would I be able to stand before God one day and say, I did my best? Or would I have caved into the pressure? So I guess I would rather be at a place where I have peace in my life. And I think even more so than like talking about the superficial stuff in Hollywood, what I see is people that don't have peace. And there's no money you can pay to have that kind of peace that surpasses all understanding, that guards your heart and guards your mind. I can go to sleep. I don't have drama. I don't have stress. I don't have, what did I say to this person? Could I get this? Did I tell this? Okay, what's my angle? Am I going to sabotage this girl at the audition so I can get the role instead of her? This constant competition. I got to beat this person out. And I'm just like, the stuff that God has for me is for me and me alone. Nobody can take it from me, not even Barbie's clone. I don't care how perfect you are. I don't care what you're going to do in the casting room situation. if God has something for me, you can't take it from me. I don't care how you're trying to sabotage me. And if we could all get to that place of belief and trust and knowing that God's going to work all things out for us, that he's going to turn what the devil meant for evil into good. You just let go of it all. It's not this
Mhm.
constant, oh, I'm not going to, I've been in those situations where like my printer didn't work and so I couldn't print out my script, and I'm in this audition room with girls that are going out for the same role. And there's a girl sitting next to me in the scripts. She just has her script next to her and she's looking at her phone doing whatever. And I'm like, excuse me, can I look at your script for a minute? I wasn't able to print mine. She grabs her script, folds it up and puts it in her purse. Like, so threatened that someone might, that I might get the role instead of her or whatever. Or I've had people come out of the audition room and see me and say, here's what the director wants you to do. And they'll tell me something the complete opposite. So I go in the room and I screw up. And I just thought they were trying to help me. So I was like, great. So there's people are not only is there not peace, they're in a constant state of fear, of loss, of missing out. Or what if I trying tooth and nail to not let anyone get one over on them? And it's, to me, that's more pervasive than anything. The people don't have peace and they don't have joy. They have moments of happiness when something good happens or when they're living the high life, but then they go home and they're depressed and they're sad and they're questioning why they did what they did. And they're justifying, well, I had to do this to get ahead because I had to, and I live my life in such a way where I don't have to go home and justify anything.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's nice to be able to have a high expectation of self and a good self-worth. You mentioned a lot about God, and I know that your faith means a lot to you. As mine does. We've spoken of it before, but what's it like being a Christian in Hollywood and surrounded by all of that and that negativity?
Well, it's choices, it's choices I have to make, scripts, it's decisions that, aren't always easy to make. And, and sometimes, like, I have a friend in Hollywood who's an actor and he plays a lot of bad guys. And there's a lot of, bad guys usually have a lot of cuss words. So he's sometimes saying bad words in the scripts. And there's other Christians that will be like, how dare you? How dare you? Supposed to be a man of God. And, it is sometimes like, what is that separation between what this character of mine is doing on screen and who I am personally? Like, I don't swear in real life. Like, I don't know. People probably, they never hear me swear. But there are times in a film where I say swear words, and that shocks people sometimes. I'm like, well, that was that character and what they were going through. And, but like this friend of mine, actor Mel Novak, he sometimes gets roles where they want him to say JC or GD, and he won't do it. And he's been threatened to be fired. And it's been, he has lost roles because of it. But you have to know for yourself where you want to draw the line. And it took me several years to get to the point where I could openly speak about my faith and not be worried. I don't consider myself a Bible thumper, but I do, if you look at my YouTube or my Instagram, I talk about God all the time. I don't feel like I'm shoving it down anyone's throat because it's my page. I could talk about what I want to on my page, but when you're in networking situations, you have to just really feel out, is now an appropriate time? You don't have to wear your faith on your sleeve or feel like You don't have to go around tell everyone, I'm a Christian, you should be a Christian, you should love God, you should, heard this preacher once say, a light bulb doesn't go around telling everyone, I'm a light, I'm a light, I'm a light. It just shines. It just brightens the room. And sometimes that's all we have to do, is just shine, just brighten the room. And people will come up to you and say, why are you different than everyone else? How come you have peace right now when everybody else is freaked out? How come, you just stand out when you have that comfort, when you know everything is going to be okay. And even if it's not okay, I'm going to be okay because I know the one who holds the world in his hand. So no matter what's going on in the world, I know who's on the throne. And no matter how scary it gets, I know he's got my best interest in mind. So I can have that smooth sailing where I'm not affected. And people sometimes take that as like, don't you care? But it's not that at all. I just have peace. Why should I stress out about a situation I have no control over? How does that even help it? All it does is put me in a spiral where I'm now not making the right decisions because I'm acting out of fear. And the moment we shift into fear, we're out of faith.
Exactly. I speak a lot about my faith, especially on there. As you said, it's my platform. So I should be allowed to speak about what I want to speak about. And a lot of my followers and my fans, they even though they wouldn't, many of them would call themselves atheists, I think that, a lot of them have said that they appreciate the fact that I'm honest and open about it, and that I don't actually ram it down people's throats. I'm not the sort of person that will stand there and shout in the face of someone and say, you should live like this, you should. I'm nobody. I can't speak about that. The way that I live my life, what I can do is I can make suggestions and I can say, well, actually, I was reading the other day, and I came across this verse and it might help you in your situation. And that for me, I love the Bible, and I always thought there wasn't a manual for life until I found the Bible and how to read it properly. And actually everything's in there that you need to know about, kind of spookily, and it's been a great help for me. And I've had a lot of people, I've had gangsters on here. I've had people that have been in jail for killing people. I've had people that have been self-confessed terrorists, bank robbers, people in recovery, and they all say that God has been relevant in their life, whether they believe in him or not. And I think that that's a powerful thing when you can get a room full of broken people and they can all connect through that one thing, God, that one thing, that one word. For some people, whether it's out of love or hate, it will always spark a conversation. And that's why I love it so much, and I love doing this so much, because I get to find out about people's faiths, and spirituality. I think it's very important that we have faith in such a difficult time. How has the pandemic affected you? How has COVID affected Hollywood?
I think it's affected us the same way a lot of people are being affected. Production shutting down, loss of jobs, things like that. Now, they just have a lot of protocols in place where they're testing you every day before you shoot, and you're wearing your masks and stuff on set. And there's they've now had, compliance officers. It's been bad because it's been the death of little films like that. Little films are usually what I work on. I've never done $100 million films, but so, having a compliance officer on set for COVID, if you've got a little film you're trying to make for $30,000, and now a COVID compliance officer costs $7,000 of your budget, that's, more than a quarter of your budget to make your film. And, it's really, I think it's stopped a lot of little independent filmmakers from able to showcase their crafts. And if you kind of look at what's coming out in Hollywood, it's super, super big budget movies, and the little sleeper movies, the little dramas, the little thrillers, horror films, you're not seeing that happen because those people have been squashed out. You don't have the big budget to afford like all the new COVID stuff or whatever. It's making it so the smaller filmmakers can't even make their films anymore. Yeah. And, there's a lot of stuff, with the pandemic that, there's people there's people that I know, people on all sides, people that are pro the vaccines and people that are anti. And, the studios have all made rules that without it, you can't work. So I've had people confess to me, like, I don't think there's been enough testing. I don't know if this is safe. I don't know if I should take it, but if I don't, I can't work. So there's also that like fear, like their lifelong dream is on if they don't comply. And, so I think it's beyond even like the physical aspect. There's a lot of mental anguish going on because of it too.
Yeah. I mean, it's we're not too bad in England at the minute. And I've been on sets that have had COVID officers and stuff like that. I've been quite lucky, but it's been quite easy, especially doing the supporting artist stuff. But I also know a lot of people that have been greatly affected by when we first locked down and then we locked down again, and all the confusion about what you were allowed to do and what you weren't allowed to do. It has caused a lot of smaller companies, a lot of the smaller independent filmmakers to falter and fall. And I think it's really, really sad because I love to see independent movie. That's my bag. I love independent movies. No budget, low budget independent movies. You'll see all the VHS in the background. A lot of them aren't big budget Hollywood films. A lot of them are some of the smaller budget Hollywood films are British films, because I have an affinity for that, and I think that we're coming close to losing it because of all the politics that is running in the film industry in Britain, and I suppose over in the States and everywhere. I love the New Zealand film industry, but New Zealand is shut. It's closed. Australian films, some of them are the best films that I've ever seen. Australia is closed, and it's just it's so sad to see. Our longest running soap, which is called, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Neighbours. It's been going like 36, 37 years. Australian, and it's always been on British telly. And it's been pulled because I think some of it's to do with COVID, and I think some of it's to do with the companies not getting the funding that they needed. And that must have surely been affected by COVID policies over there in Australia, and here. And I just think it's really, really sad to see like an institution fall. It's not a nice thing to see, and I can see more things doing that. You know,
Yeah, a lot of top shops closing because the restrictions, you can only have this certain number of people now in your restaurant at a time. Also here in LA, I don't know what it's like where you are, but you can't go into a restaurant or get your haircut or do anything unless you show proof that you've been vaccinated. So
wow.
you have to carry this card with you to even be able to, go to the movies, go to a restaurant, have your haircut, whatever. So yeah, it's interesting times we're living in. And, you could argue that they're just trying to do their due diligence. You could argue that it's, tyranny. There's a lot of people's opinions. It's really inflaming. And the sad thing is it's separating
Yeah,
a lot of people. And
it is.
I feel like the enemy's tactic, for years we were separated with racism. And I feel like this is like a new form of the vaxxed against the unvaxxed, or creating these enemies where we're fearing each other. The people who are scared of those who have because of protein shedding. Then there's those who haven't, who are fear that you're gonna get them sick. And it's a lot of fear mongering. And I saw someone post something the other day that said something about who controls the media, the money, the fear. They're feeding the fear. The big pharma is feeding the media. They're feeding them fear, and fear is what makes people more sick. So the more sick you are, then you need the big pharma to get you better. So it's like this cycle. Let's get you scared and get you sick and get you, and I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I feel like I'm middle of the road, and I'm kind of just taking what I hear both sides saying and trying to decipher for myself, like which one seems more accurate, where do I see myself fitting into this? And I don't see myself picking sides. I don't see myself picking right and left or this, or I just see myself trying to be like, God, what do you want? What is your way? You don't know what lies are being told to us. We don't know we don't know. So we just need to walk in obedience to what we hear God is telling us to do. That's right for us, and just pray for the outcome of whatever it is. Hey there, it is Katherine Norland. I hope you enjoyed that video. And if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you guys think that this video would bless somebody else or if they need to hear it, please hit the share button. And there's a little bell button too, where you can be notified whenever I have a video that comes out so you don't miss a thing. I appreciate you guys. Remember, always live true, love hard, shine bright, and I will see you in the next video.